All right, good evening. I'd like to call to order the Whatcom County Council meeting for September 25th, 2018. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Tim Blue.
Here.
Barbara Brenner.
Here.
Red Brown.
Yep.
Barry Buchanan.
Here. Here.
Todd Donovan.
Here.
Satpal Sidhu.
Here.
Would you all like to rise and join me with the flag salute? Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, a couple of announcements. Please turn off your cell phones, and if you'll be handing out paperwork to council members, please give one copy to the clerk for our office files. First off is the minutes. Do I have a move? We have 3 sets of minutes.
Move approval.
Second.
Ms. Brenner moves approval. Mr. Donovan seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 7-0. Next item up will be public hearings. In this case, audience members who have signed up in the back of the room prior to the beginning of our meeting will be called first and are asked to form a line behind the signs on either side of the chambers. If you are unable to sign up before the meeting, you will be given an opportunity to address the council once we've gotten through all the folks listed on the hearing sheets. Each speaker should state his or her name for the record and will be given 3 minutes to address the council. Council staff will keep track of the time limits and will let you know when you have 30 seconds left to wrap up your comments. When a large group of individuals supports the same position on an issue, we encourage the selection of 1 or 2 representatives to speak on behalf of the entire group. There's been a suggestion that we deviate a little bit from the public hearing process tonight, in that I think it would be useful for the council members if when you're speaking you identify whether you're a resident of Whatcom County or somewhere else.
I'm not comfortable with that. I think people should, if they want to, they could do it, but I'm not
Okay.
comfortable.
Well, I would personally find it useful if they would identify where they're from, and I know at least one other council member would like to, and we'll see what happens. First up is a resolution authorising the sale of Whatcom County surplus property pursuant to Whatcom County Code 1.10 AB 2018 2011A. Is there a staff report on this? Seeing none, we'd open the public hearing. Is there anybody who wishes to speak on this issue? Rush it once. Okay, there seems to be no one, so we'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion to approve? Ms. Brenner moves approval. Mr. Donovan seconds. Any discussion? Mr. Bird.
Yeah, actually, I have a discussion, but not on this. I wanted to talk about real quick your statement just a second ago, but
Let's get through this first.
does it?
Okay, any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 7-0. Mr. Bird.
So that statement about saying whether you live here, I'm not opposed to it. I think it's an interesting idea. Live or work, though, yeah, I think that you have an impact. If maybe you live in Skagit, but you're working up here, I still want to, you still have.
That's
a
fine.
investment.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. It adds more weight to a speaker's comment if we understand where they're a resident or whether they live or work in the county. We receive a lot of comments from people who say, you know, well, I remember one before you joined the council, there was one occasion where we received 1,000 emails from people saying they lived in Whatcom County, and the majority of the addresses were from outside the state of Washington.
So is this going to be a practice moving forward then for all future council meetings?
I will put it forward as a request, a personal request.
I just don't want it to come off as for some reason today that is the case based on someone that's in the room, but like if it's a precedent that we're going to use moving forward, then I'll support it. So,
Mr. Sidhu.
I think we already do that. When people come up, they not only state their name, they give their address. And
Most-
I mean,
some
we are
do
not,
some-
okay, we are not stopping anybody from speaking.
No,
That's not the point here. We just, I think this intention I see is just pointing out. And I think everybody should be welcome to speak from wherever they are, because it may be impacting them one way or the other. But if they come and state that I'm so-and-so and I work here or live here, or I don't even work or live in Whatcom County, I'm from Seattle, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we are an open government and we should hear from everybody.
And I am certainly keen to hear from everybody. I'm expressing my personal interest in hearing, whether they live here, work here as well.
Yeah, I mean, I support that, but we should, in no way we should limit people coming up and speaking here.
And that was not the suggestion, Ms. Brown.
Okay.
Well, I don't see that as a situation. What I see is counting noses. Who's going to vote and who's not going to vote in the county. And that bothers me. I think most of the time, those were emails or something we got. And yeah, they were from, because it didn't have to have a person. It could have been the same person writing 50 different addresses and names. This is different. These are people here, and if they get up at one of these hearings or at open session, there's something they want to say. And I don't think it should depend on where they live. And I'm not saying we wouldn't let them speak if they didn't live here, but I still say that it makes it way too political as far as I'm concerned to request that they say where they live or work or something.
Mr. Byrd.
I 100% appreciate Councilmember Brenner's opinion. For me, it's a matter of, I think that if you live here and you work here, that you have a vested interest and you've put us up here and we're here to represent you. And so your opinion matters from, I'm your elected representative. And if you don't live here, I'm not saying your opinion doesn't matter, but if you do live here and work here, it carries more weight.
Yeah.
Personal.
Why?
Because
they
you're
vote.
vested. No, because you're vested here,
Okay.
right? Because it impacts them directly moving forward.
Whatever.
Mr. Donovan.
I like the discussion, I like the request, but I just want to make sure it's a request and people can say whatever they want to say. I think that's what Mr. Brown was
That's what I was saying.
suggesting.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion on this, or should we move on to the next hearing?
You just thought it was a light night, so you're like, let's throw
You just think it's a light
Ringer in
agenda,
there.
so you're going to drag it out, okay.
a bet
Well, it
on
won't be light tonight with the way you guys are saying things.
All right, next up is an ordinance adopting amendments to the Whatcom County Comprehensive Plan and Whatcom County Code, Title 24 Health Code relating to water issues and implementation of ESSB 6091. This is AB 2018-253. Do everybody signed up for this? Open the public session.
No, she knows what she wants.
Oh, we
'cause
do.
She's
Sorry,
been
sorry,
here a
sorry.
lot.
Okay. Okay, the first up was
And probably not anybody even signed up for that first.
Kathy. Yeah, sorry.
Kathy Sable, this is quick. I had made comments already at the Planning Commission in July. But the more I looked at this, the wording from the prior version of the ordinance that's still here just bugs me, and I just have to bring it up. So when it says you have legal availability of water in the Part B, 1 through 5, those are all ors. So long as you meet any one of that criteria, you meet that piece of this requirement under B. Under that is if you already have a well that meets the requirements to be legal under the RCWs and before January 19, 2018. The next thing you have to meet, even if you have that, is number 7, where it says, if you're in WIRA 1, the applicant may obtain approval for a withdrawal exempt from permitting under RCW 904450 under these conditions. And that's where you're going to put on your title, the 3,000. And I'm sure that's legit, but I'm just not understanding the definition of withdrawal, because as far as I could see in the RCWs, it says each new domestic use, and the Hearst lawsuit was a land use lawsuit. So I don't know, you need to take action tonight. I just would like to understand it better on the wording and what that means exactly. Because I know when I attended the hearings down in Olympia, the senators clearly stated that if something happens to your well, like silt or something, and you need a new one, that's okay. You can just do it, because that's not a change in, I believe, use. And also, it was like a renovation in your house. So I'm not clear in definitions, that's all. Thanks for letting me comment.
And that actually reminds me, is there a staff report on this beforehand?
Yeah.
Good evening, Council. Mark Personis with the Planning Department. This is a fix to the fix, if you will. When staff and council approved the original 6091 ordinance some months ago, it relied on previous determinations from the Department of Ecology that certain areas that were not in hydraulic continuity with a closed basin in WIRA 1 were exempt from the provisions of the Hearst decision, of the Supreme Court decision. And we carried that over in the regs. And the petitioners in this case pointed out that actually what the legislature passed in 6091 did not specify that. It simply specified all of WIRA 1, that those three conditions applied to: the 3,000 gallons per day, the $500 fee, and the notice on title. So these changes just respond to that and make it consistent with that. So.
Ms. Brenner had her finger going first.
Really? Okay. So I was thinking she was thinking something else, but I don't know. You should talk to him after this anyway. He's very good. But yeah, that particular part now is just including some other parts that were excluded before.
Right, and those were Point Roberts, Lummi
Liza
Island,
Island, and
Eliza Island, and WIRA 4, the portion of WIRA 4, which is the upper Skagit that's in Whatcom County, but those are all federal lands, so there's no development impact on those. And the reality is the only really change here, the effect is really only on Lummi Island, because Eliza Island has one well, I believe, which uses salt water, reverse osmosis, and then Point Roberts is entirely on public water, so that's the only effect.
Mr. Donovan?
And the only other change from what council had approved earlier, besides basically, Eliza, Lummi being lit, the word documentation is switched for evidence, and what difference does that make?
None. I think the issue came up with the Planning Commission. It was just a wordsmithing.
Whereas the other thing was part of I would say settlement, but an agreement with the plaintiffs where the state told us we had to put Eliza, Point Roberts, and Lummi in with everything else.
When the legislature passed 6091, right, they applied it, there were a variety of criteria across the state and different WIRAs, but they were all applied to WIRAs, not portions of WIRAs. So what 6091 did was apply some of those three conditions to properties that weren't necessarily affected by the Supreme Court's decision originally in Hearst. So
the word evidence came, and I didn't notice this when we did it in the committee the other day. Evidence came from the planning, replacing documentation with evidence in 4, 5. That came from the Planning Commission?
that's, where the change was made, yeah. And I can't recall exactly what the
I don't.
particulars were. We didn't see any meaningful difference in the wording, so.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll reopen the public hearing. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak on this issue? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. What's the wishes of the council?
Move approval.
Mr. Buchanan moves approval. Ms. Brenner, I think, Mr.
somebody
Byrd
did.
was second.
Me.
Tyler.
Right.
Second.
Councilmember Byrd.
And then would the clerk please call the roll?
Jim Ballou,
Yes.
Barbara Brenner,
Yes.
Red Brown,
Yes.
Barry Buchanan,
Yes.
Tyler Byrd, Todd Donovan,
Yes.
Satpal Sidhu.
Yes.
It passes 7-0. Next item up is a public hearing requesting for the public to comment and council action on the request to authorize the county executive to enter into an interlocal agreement between Whatcom County and the City of Bellingham to purchase inclement weather protective gear from funds provided by the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistant Grant Program in the amount of $13,223, AB 2018-257. Is there a staff report?
Move to approve.
Move to approve.
Public hearing.
Did you have the public hearing yet?
All right. Okay, no staff report. Then we'll open up for public hearing. And do we have anybody in the sign-in sheet for this one?
Could you even ask if anybody wants to speak?
We've got a Jim Rober and a Lewis Arugan, I think it is.
Yep, this might not be the one they want to
Is
speak.
this, are you wishing to speak on the purchase of inclement weather gear? Okay. I mean, you're welcome to, but it's... Anybody else wishes to speak on this? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Now, what's the wishes of the council?
I'm sorry, now I move to approve.
Mr.
I thought I saw a blank sheet there.
Mr. Donovan moves approval. Ms. Brenner seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 7-0. Next item up is a resolution approving the Whatcom County 6-year Transportation Improvement Program for the years 2019 through 2024, AB 2018-250. Again, is there a staff report?
Joe Rutan with Public Works, and wanted to remind you that we spent some time with this 2 weeks ago in the Public Works Committee reviewing it, and I'll remind you that there's a lot of documentation in this package. What you're actually voting on begins on page 418, the resolution. The document that was complained about by the BPAC, I've been doing this so long that I used to be able to read that without glasses. And then the 14-year ferry program. And if there's any questions, I am here to answer.
Ms. Brenner.
Just a real quick question on the ferry program. We got an email today saying that we would actually, in the long run, save money by going to an electric ferry. I don't know if you got a copy
I've
of
not
it.
seen that email. I know that just like in automobiles, that type of propulsion is changing, and it's an
Right.
interesting technology. And I know that as we move forward to any new boat out there, I'm sure that's something that will be.
So if it starts to look like it's cheaper or something, you would come back to us anyway,
I
right?
believe that the ferry that was proposed, that came out of the Life Act proposal, is a diesel electric.
Right.
That has the ability to switch to all electric if that technology
Oh,
takes over.
perfect, okay.
Okay. Further discussion on this issue?
I
Mr. Donovan.
I think Mr. Rutan said the document that was complained
Come on.
about, no, I was just going to say, it was commented on, it wasn't complained about. The font was really small.
Okay. Okay, then we open the public hearing. Is there anybody who wishes to speak on this issue? I have the following people: Darren Nainaber, Joshua Tuka, and Manny Canellis. And again, we're speaking on the
Like a civil
Transportation
engineer or
Improvement
somebody,
Program.
so he might actually.
Hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. And two things. I represent People and Otters, a nonprofit to protect nature. Number two, I have had 7 generations of family born and raised in this county, including a homesteader. A very strong roots to this county. And I have multiple members of my nonprofit that they're a little more shy compared to me. I was a city attorney on land use issues, advised the city council. I was also a civil deputy prosecutor, and I advised the county as well when I was on land use issues and environmental issues. So I have a lot of background in land use and environmental. I just want to provide support for what you're doing, which is the GMA requirement of planning on a 6-year horizon for growth. And it's easy for the public and people to forget, that we have coming to Washington State 1.5 million people in 20 years. And it's not going to stay the same. It won't be the status quo. So where do those people go? Mostly they need to go in the city urban growth areas. So that's just my simple pitch. We've got a lot of urban growth area to plan for, and when you're planning of them, think strategically about that huge increase in population. And with that, I will hand this over to the city clerk. I have a aerial photo of Western Washington, and I would love it if you later on have time to look at this, because you see a tremendous effect of people on the land. You cannot, it's too bad this map is not available, this aerial photo is not easily available, because from Vancouver to Vancouver, there's a lot of people. So now is the time to start infilling. We've done a lot of sprawl. Now time for infill. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren.
Yep.
Is there anybody else who wishes to speak on the 6-year Transportation Improvement Program? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. What's the wish of the council?
Move approval.
Mr. Bird moves approval. Mr. Donovan seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 7-0. Next item up is the open public session, and during this session, audience members will have up to 3 minutes to address the council on any issue relevant to county business. Before beginning to comment, please state your name and topic of interest for the record. If your last name is something other than Smith or Jones, please spell it for the clerk. Please make sure to speak into the microphone. Please stand behind the signs located in the aisles as a courtesy to other speakers. Thank you for your cooperation. Do we have any sign-in sheets for the open public session?
Oh. Staff, or is it? What are you being here?
A sign-in sheet for the open session, but I'm Steve Hood. I work for Department of Ecology.
Sorry, just, so there is no...
Oh, there was a sign-in sheet. Oh, I thought you said there wasn't one.
Okay.
Oh, right. Just for hearings.
All right, so if anybody else who would like to speak, please let's start lining up behind the signs. Thank you. Yeah, please proceed.
So I'm here to tell you that I'm developing, the Ecology is developing another TMDL in your backyard. Oh, did I give my name for the record already? Okay. So we're working on South Fork Nooksack temperature TMDL. And this is quite different than our Lake Whatcom TMDL in that we're asking the county to do really, there's no real burdens that'll come on you. This is a TMDL that's largely a non-point TMDL, so we're looking at residents to voluntarily look at what we're planning and figure out how they can do it. And I think we're really blessed with a community in the South Fork that's really grabbed onto it and are really aggressively working forward. So to give you a quick summary of what we're found, traditionally when we did a TMDL, we did TMDLs already for temperature in Whatcom County. We did Squalicum, Padden, and Whatcom Creeks. I guess Whatcom Creek didn't start in Whatcom County. It starts all in Bellingham. But the other two started, and we looked at what kind of trees could we grow in 100 years, and what would that get us? And it doesn't get us the right criteria, but it gets us pretty close to natural. In this case, we were really pushed hard on that natural condition assessment, looking at 100-year-old trees. And so we did a little bit more work, and we said, well, you know what? In the past, the river was narrower. We probably had cleaner gravel, so more water was flowing through the sediment. And we had a lot bigger trees than we could grow in 100 years. So we modeled also, what the effect of those different things were. And when we put them all together, and, also cooler tributaries. So we put all four of those together, and we imagined Douglas fir growing right down to a narrower river, which may be a stretch. So we might call that our supernatural condition. We can actually meet the criteria in a little tiny bit of the river. EPA also looked at a climate change impact on temperature TMDLs, and they used ours as we were working on it as a pilot. And the bad news is if we could do all of that, grow 500-year-old trees by 2080, and we could get all that giant trees right down to the edge of the old edge of the river, by 2080, all those improvements and getting down to meeting our criteria will be back up almost exactly to where we are now, which sounds really depressing until you realize that that's 40 generations of fish,
30 seconds, please.
and that gives them a little chance to adapt. So we have some hope. We also have a lot of work that's going on in the South Fork where they're building log jams that gives fish a place to hide out. So while the whole river is not healthy, they at least have some refuge. So we have some hope. We're taking comments on this document through the 20th of November. And if the Natural Resources Committee would like me to come and provide some answers to you, I'd be glad to do so.
Time.
And just send an invitation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a point of clarification, do we have a copy of this already, or?
You know what? I can
think,
leave you this copy.
Yeah.
Because if you wish the council members to comment on it, we'll need.
I will leave a copy with the council. There's also a copy at the Deming Library, and you could go to our office and look at a copy. And the WIRA 1 staff team has a copy as well. So there's a
I'm just
few
wondering if you
places.
can email us a PDF.
Yeah, leave your email too.
I will send you a link to where you can get all the information.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Would you like me to send that to you individually or to your
If
secretary?
you send it, just send it to council. There's a
Okay.
council address on the website, and that'll come to all of us.
We'll do it.
Thank you. All right.
Kathy Sable, citizen. I'm also a exempt well owner. I have been participating in the WIRA 1. I go to the board, the team, the planning unit. I go to your surface water work sessions, anything water I can find. I even go to the climate impact advisory and the wildlife advisory committees because they deal with water too. It affects everything. I do want to compliment how everything has been working in the planning unit. Your staff is working very hard, Department of Ecology. And so I was a little shocked to hear the update given by Gary, the county's representative for the caucus and the planning unit, giving a heads up to the council at the surface water work session that some entities have said they won't go with a plan that does not include metering. So I'm here to ask if you can have your representative at the planning unit tomorrow give a little further information, because this is the first I've heard it. So I'd like to know what entities these are. I don't think I misheard because I actually played the audio today. It's around minute 18. So you may have heard it differently, so I'd like you to hear the audio again too, but it's a concern to me because I've been saying for a long time, you're running out of time. And this is, to me, I see as an it's something to be addressed now and not wait, once I heard that. So I appreciate you addressing it if you can, if you agree. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd just like to ask as people move up to the podium and just alternate, so rather. No, it's fine. No, it's just that if you want to move up to the podium, that way you can start talking in the minute she's finished, so that's fine.
Hi, I'm Brianne Holford, and I live on Larson Road, and this is my neighbor, Leo Cornelson. And we're just here to talk about a proposal that we've heard about. We understand it's still in the application process, but it was the Unity Village by Homes Now for the tent and tiny home place there. And so I'd be the closest resident there, and we just noticed when we looked over the proposal that there was some missing information and some incorrect information. It states that the nearest residence would be about a quarter mile. My husband and I measured it, and it's about a tenth of a mile, or about 500 feet from my driveway, and I'd be able to see it. And Leo filled in some of the missing businesses and other community things that would be impacted by that, and he'll speak after me. But my husband and I both work in public service. I'm a teacher, he's a firefighter, so we have a lot of compassion for our homeless community, and we understand that they need a place, but we just don't think that the Unity Village and the Northwest location is the right place. I did some research, and I was looking at what the United States Interagency Council on Homelessness says about them, about the tiny home and tent encampments, and it really urges cities against them. And here are some quotes that they said. It said, creating these environments may make it look and feel like the community is taking action to end homelessness on the surface, but by themselves, they have very little impact on reducing homelessness. They also said these environments are difficult to manage and maintain. And then although often proposed as temporary approaches, these programs prove difficult to close once they open. Instead, what they recommend communities do is improve the existing shelter systems and provide more permanent housing options for those people in shelters. The Seattle Times published an article in July regarding their tiny home encampment experience, and overall they found that they were really difficult to manage and to maintain clean and healthy living conditions. So there hasn't been any data that shows that that's a positive, that there's a positive correlation between those tiny homes and moving homeless into permanent homes. So I just think that with the lack of positive correlation to improving the lives of the homeless people, and just the recommendations for the United States Interagency on Homelessness, I just think that there are other options than that proposal and that piece of property.
Hi, I'm Leo Cornelison, resident of, and live on the Larson Road, and housing for poor people. So I made a trip today and talked to all the businesses along Northwest Road, and none of them knew about it. And so here we find out that we want to put housing units for poor people, and I want people to have money to be able to buy what they need, but that's their own location. And so I went into the planner, senior planner at Whatcom County, and left this letter, and it talks about all the ones who live in this area, this particular area, and how they're impacted. And we don't think this is a good place. That particular piece of property is used by search and rescue, as they do nighttime search and rescue practice, and that'll just disappear. And there's no place for them to go. And so we request that if they do plan to put these houses up, to let us know. They didn't talk to any of the neighbors, and they just said, well, we'll find out about it. But there's no way we could find out about it if they don't tell us, because most people now don't get to go and help. And so we're just concerned because there's so many small children in this area, Northwest Road, and it's just not safe for them. And so that's why we present this.
Ms. Brown?
I just want to let you know, if they proceed, part of the process is they have to notify everybody who lives within 1,000 feet of the property. And that's the beginning. So it hasn't, there's nothing that's been started yet.
Yeah, that they don't have a permit or a lease or anything to that extent yet. So that's why you haven't heard anything about it. It's still kind of a thought process, but if you want to leave your number up front, then one of us can reach out to you. That'd be nice. Thank you.
And it's not that we are against helping poor people. It's that we think this is the wrong place to put it, because there's many people who will be affected, and I listed all the businesses along there will be affected by it, and we have not heard anything.
Goes with the clerk.
Hi, my name is Bill Holt, and I'm with the Laborers Local 292. Within the building trades, there's been a lot of discussion about how your proposed changes in resolution to 2018-015 will make Cherry Point companies less competitive, which will cost jobs. These are good family wage union jobs needed by my fellow union brothers and sisters. I'm actually, with your question tonight about where you're from, and that took me off a little bit. I'm actually from Skagit County. I belong to 292 that spans 5 different counties. Skagit, Snohomish, San Juan Island, and Whatcom County. A third of my income this year came out of Whatcom County, out of Cherry Point. I work here periodically on shutdowns and stuff like that, and my family's thrived ever since and because of it. So I'm here to support my Whatcom brothers and sisters. We all want to attract renewable energy and other green industries to Cherry Point, but the regulatory uncertainty you have created through your 5 renewals for the Cherry Point fossil fuel moratorium makes Whatcom County more inhospitable place to do business, any businesses. Cherry Point companies must be allowed to grow and make operational adjustments to remain competitive. If the Cherry Point companies can't remain competitive, and the jobs they create will leave Whatcom County. I urge you to support Whatcom County industries and focus on policies that balance the economic opportunity and prosperity of the environmental stewardship and safety. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Good evening. Thank you for allowing us the chance to speak. My name is Trevor Smith. I live at 1209 Roland Street, Bellingham, Washington, 98227. I know it's important that we have to state where we're from. I got that. I'm a proud member of Labor's Local 292, and I'm also a business agent. Represent 1,300 members in those, 1,300 plus members in those 5 counties. Of that, a little over half of them work in Cherry Point or work in the Anacortes Industrial Complex and the other 2 refineries. I've personally spent 16 years working between those 4 refineries. My union and I are monitoring very closely your activities to implement Resolution 2018-015. The jobs that Cherry Point companies provide are critical to me and my union brothers and sisters' quality of life. I also urge you not to pursue unnecessary permit changes for industries in Whatcom County. The existing regulations are enough. We are greatly concerned about the council's proposed changes to the Whatcom County Comprehensive Plan and Whatcom County Code. Our fear is that these changes will put a chill on future investment at Cherry Point from current and potential future industrial employers. These are good family wage living jobs. These are not jobs that can easily be replaced. If you keep going this way and kind of willy-nilly going at these regulations, then it will cause a chilling effect. There will be less jobs out there, less family wage jobs, less people who can afford houses, less people who can invest in this county, start their own businesses, that kind of thing. So, it needs to be taken into consideration because we're only one of about 7 building trades that work out there. So if 800 of my members work out there on a yearly basis, how many more is that? How many more people are permanent employees in those places? How much economic industry or how much economic driver does that provide the county without something to replace it with? Because you can't just go replace this with a job at a Burger King or at a Macy's. These are jobs that provide pensions, they provide family living wages, they provide health care, all that, without being a burden on the system. So what is the proposal? What is the council's idea to replace those jobs with? So that's the question that we're asking. So we look forward to seeing what you guys have to say. Thank you.
My name is Hannah Holt, and I'm with Laborers 292 also. Before I started working here, I was a barista, and I wasn't making very much money. I was grateful enough to have my mom and dad help me with my bills. And I'm only 20 years old, and for me being 20, like, my best decision in my life is starting to work with Laborers 292, and I've realized that there's a lot of upbringing to that. I can support myself. I don't have to have my mom and dad's help. I'm grateful enough that they helped me, but I'm able to do it by myself because of me being able to get the chance to work out here. So please stop your unnecessary overhaul of permitting at Cherry Point. You are creating way more damage than good. I know you are spending a great deal of effort and tax dollars on the homeless crisis. The working poor are a big part of this problem. One important element of dealing with that issue is having employers that pay good wages. Your misguided agenda for Cherry Point will drive away quality employers and family wage jobs from Whatcom County, not to mention dry up tax revenue to fund programs for our most vulnerable. Economic development is a critical part dealing with housing affordability and homelessness. Please support Cherry Point companies and the family wages jobs that they do create. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Manny Canales. Joined the Laborers right out of high school, 292. Back then it was 901 in Mount Vernon. But I've always worked all around on all the different counties nearby, and wherever I work, I spend money at the local businesses. No matter where I'm from, I was working down in Seattle for a couple of years, drove all the way down there every day, and it just did not make sense to stop in a store or any other kind of business at 8 p.m. because that's what time I would get home. Even now, just half hour away from home, I still stop at the businesses in Anacortes when I'm working there. When I'm working in Bellingham, I stop at the businesses in Bellingham. It's just easier. I get off at 5 p.m. That's where I shop. It's where I do my business. And I'll tell you this much, with these jobs, I was able to buy a house at 18 years old, and I've been paying it off for 12 years. And without that kind of job, without that kind of income, I'm forced to drive down to Seattle. I don't see my kids all day. I'm gone 13 hours a day to work an 8-hour shift. Need these jobs local, and I will spend money in Whatcom County, even though I live in Skagit County. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
I'm Jim Morbaugh, Skagit County resident. Good evening, council. And I thank you for giving me the time to express my concerns. I'm a proud member of the Laborers Union Local 292. My union and I are monitoring you very closely on the activities to implement resolution 2018-015. I'm 55 years old. I'm not working anymore, but I do love Whatcom County. I went to Bellingham High School here. Now I'm down in Skagit County. But I'm just trying to leave this place. I'm done working. I'm just trying to leave this place better. Leave it behind me. The jobs at Cherry Point, companies provide a critical for me and my union, brothers and sisters, quality of life. I also urge you not to pursue unnecessary permit changes for industries in Whatcom County. The existing regulations are enough. We are greatly concerned about the council proposed changes to the Whatcom County Comprehensive Plan at Whatcom County Code. Our fear is that these changes will put a chill on the future investment of Cherry Point from current and potential future industries and employees. It seems like we got to fight for our work. So we got to come here time and time to stress in front of you people. I'm in no way trying to be mean, but there's a sign on the front door. This says no food or drink, and I see you guys got coffee. So I want things to be fair, and I hope you take us seriously. Thank you and good night.
Thank you.
So my name's Donna Lentz. I live in Bellingham, and I want to get back to this homeless thing because I live over on Northwest. I don't think the questions were answered sufficiently. You guys said that only people that live within 1,000 feet of this homeless encampment would be notified. I live probably a quarter of a mile from there. I have my grandkids over in my house all the time. Those places are filled with drugs and needles and all kinds of stuff. I do not want my grandkids exposed to that. There's businesses all over there. There's children all over in those neighborhoods. I do not want that place there. That's right there by the county shop. What do they have to say about that? They have police cars in there all the time. They have all their county equipment there all the time. I mean, what's the deal with that? You want those places robbed? You think that's not going to happen? And then where's the tax money going to pay for that? Our taxes are going to go up when the police cars are robbed and those buildings are robbed back there. That is going to happen. And I'm not happy about that. And then you guys say that it doesn't matter whether Bellingham residents speak up. I think it's important that we live here and that we have a voice. And it's important that we say we live here. And we say that every time. When somebody lives outside of this county, it's not that. You have to live here. You have to be part of this community to make a choice. If you live in Skagit, and it's no offense that they live in Skagit, but the part of the decision-making is living here in Whatcom County and Bellingham. I don't want them making a choice about where the homeless encampment's going to be because they don't live here. I don't want that next to my house. They live in Skagit. You know, so how is that fair? How is it fair that they're coming down here making decisions for our county? I just don't think it's right. And I think every person that comes here and talks to this council should have to live here to make decisions. And I think every one of you
30 seconds, please.
should have to be part of that. Sure.
If anybody else wishes to speak, please make sure you line up behind the signs.
Max Perry, Whatcom County. It was a hard thing for your committee of a whole to watch. It seemed like hours, which probably was about 45 minutes, but it was a real struggle. And the struggle would be that you're trying to do something that makes really no sense. How many of you, like Rudd or Tyler, your businesses, the business that you had, how could you tell what you would need in a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever? How can you tell that? I defy any one of you to tell me exactly what your needs will be next year at this time. What's your precise needs? Yet that's what you're asking. Councilman Donovan's asking the refineries to do that very same thing, to say exactly what is your needs. What are you going to have for a quota for the crude to distill? So thank you, and it's really tough to listen. Thank you.
Thank you, Max.
So if no one else is going to come down, we'll close the public session after Ms. Perry.
Carol Perry, Whatcom County, out in the county. I just wanted to bring a little thing to you. Last week in the surface water meeting, you were presented amount of money that would be taken out of the flood control money. And I remember Sat Paul saying, well, you know, where does this money come from? And somebody said, well, it's a grant. It's free money. It comes in and it goes out. We don't have to pay a thing. And then today, number 5, in the Finance and Administrative Services Committee that you chair, Mr. Satpal Sidhu, you were asked again about this money. It says that the request authorization for the county executive to enter into a grant agreement between Whatcom County Flood Control Zone District and the Puget Sound Partnership to provide funds for the amount of $75,000. And I want to tell you, I watched this for several years, and this is not free money. It's our tax money. Whether it comes from the state or the federal, it's our money. And you're responsible, if you enter into that agreement, I think, to make sure that money is spent well. And I'll tell you, from my perspective, and I don't know everything, I just sit and watch and listen. That money is a carrot. The Puget Sound Partnership comes and says, if you take this money, you'll have facilitation for the local integrating organization. But I heard a very high-ranking county employee say in a management team meeting where everybody was frustrated with the Puget Sound Partnership because they were imposing their plan on Whatcom County.
30 seconds, please.
Oh, I can't finish the story. This high-ranking official in this county said, if you take the money, you've got to dance to the whatever they tell you to do. And I've seen even the tribes be so disgusted with this thing
they say, we've got to have a local plan. So I was so glad when you in Natural Resources this morning
Time.
really listened to the planning unit people. And I could tell you some other stories about small cities representatives, all sorts of people who are totally frustrated with the Puget Sound Partnership. They want a local plan that represents the people of Whatcom County.
Thank you, Carol.
If there's no one else after this gentleman, this will be the last.
Good evening. My name is Luis Aragon. I'm a proud member of Laborers Local 292 for almost 20 years now. I live here in Whatcom County, zip code 98229. I raised my family here. I have 3 kids. I spend my money here, and I vote here. I work in the refineries for over 15 years, in and out. I can tell you that what this moratorium plans on doing is only going to hurt families, jobs, my fellow union members, local businesses. We all want to work at home. We all want to stay here. We don't want to travel down south to go work in Seattle or Snohomish or whatnot if we don't have to, if we live here. The moratorium, I understand, is a lot based on environmental concerns and whatnot. And like I said, I raise kids here. I want a healthy environment too. And I can tell you that a lot of the work that we've done lately at BP is concerning EPA upgrades for the refineries to run cleaner, more efficient, and safer. If this council moves forward with what they're doing, we're not going to be able to do that consistently, and in the future, keep it that way. Like I said, I'm union, and I'm proud, and I'm from Whatcom County, and I'd appreciate it if you guys put more consideration into the effect that this will have on local Whatcom County families. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no one else for the open public session, we'll close the open public session and move on to finance. Mr. Sadhu.
Oh, sorry. All right, so we had a meeting, and this is the only one item from the consent agenda is item 1, request authorization for the county executive to enter into a grant agreement between Whatcom County and Washington State Department of Ecology to fund administrative support and action projects for Whatcom County Marine Resources Committee through the period of October 1, 2018 through September 30th, 2019 in the amount of $75,000, AB 2018-265. And this received a vote of 3-0, and I so move for approval.
So this has been moved for approval. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favour say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes 6-0 with Mr. Bird out of the room. Next item up is item 2 from finance, or an ordinance. Item 1 was the first one from natural resources that was held in committee. Mr. Sadhu.
Item 2 was withdrawn.
Oh, right.
Sorry?
Item 2 was withdrawn.
Item 2 from finance.
Wrong, that's what I said, the only one item was on the agenda.
And then,
Yeah, no, I understand that, but there's sorry. Item 2 on the list, that list was withdrawn. The next one I have was from ordinance adopting amendments to the purchase of development rights in natural resources, which was held in
we held
committee.
that in committee.
Yeah. And the next item up is the ordinance amending the county budget, Mr. Sadhu.
Yes. From the Finance and Administrative Services Committee, the first item is ordinance amending Whatcom County budget 11th request in the amount of $948,010, AB 2018-254. This received a 3-0 vote, and I so move for approval.
So move for approval. Any discussion? Seeing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Barbara Brenner,
Yes.
Brett Brown,
Yes.
Barry Buchanan,
Yes.
Tyler Bird,
I heard 2 people say.
Heard two people. Did I speak twice?
Whatever.
Todd Donovan,
Yes, yes.
Satpal Sidhu,
Yes.
Tim Baloo,
Yes.
That passes 6-0 with Mr. Byrd out of the room.
Okay. The next item is the resolution amending the Whatcom County Flood Control Zone District and Subzones 2018 budget third request in the amount of $86,391, council acting as Whatcom County Flood Control Zone District Board of Supervisors, AB 2018-255. And this also received a vote 3-0 in the committee, and I so move for approval.
This has been moved for approval. Any discussion? Seeing none, with the clerk, sorry, Mr. Donovan. Did you
I was
project?
just coughing.
The clerk, please call the roll.
Rudd Brown,
Yes.
Barry Buchanan,
Yes.
Tyler Bird, Todd Donovan,
Yes.
Satpal Sidhu,
Yes.
Tim Baloo,
Yes.
Barbara Brenner,
Yes.
That passes 6-0 with Mr. Byrd out of the room.
The next item is request authorization for county executive to enter into a contract between Whatcom County Flood Control Zone District and Washington's Department of Ecology to provide a 6-person crew to perform habitat restoration and water quality work in the amount of $79,695, council acting as Whatcom County Flood Control Zone District Board of Supervisors, AB 2018-260. This also received a vote of 3-0 in the committee, and I so move for approval.
So it's been moved for approval. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? That passes 6-0 with Mr. Byrd absent. Out of the room.
The next item is request authorization for county executive to enter into a joint funding agreement between Whatcom County Flood Control Zone District and U.S. Geological Survey for operation, maintenance, and data reporting of stream gauging equipment at 8 sites in the Nooksack watershed in the amount of $86,391, council acting as Whatcom County Flood Control Zone District Board of Supervisors, AB 2018-261. This received a vote of 3-0 in the committee, and I so move for approval.
It's been moved for approval. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0 with Mr. Byrd out of the room.
The next item is the request authorization for county executive to enter into a grant agreement between Whatcom County Flood Control Zone District and Puget Sound Partnership to provide funds for the coordination of Whatcom Local Integrating Organization for Water Resources Programs in the amount of $75,000. Council acting as Whatcom County Flood Control Zone District Board of Supervisors. This received a vote of 2-1 in the committee, and I so move for approval.
Been moved for approval. Any discussion? Seeing none, sorry.
Look this
What?
way.
That's right. I did, but I looked back too
Well,
fast.
I had it up as soon as you were saying that.
That's right.
so.
Your turn, Ms. Brenner.
Okay, I'm not supporting that. I'm not the one in committee, but I'm not supporting this because I really have a problem with a local integrating organization on water resource programs to not be made of all the different water users, types of water users, and it's not. And further, to me, that's what we have the planning unit for, and it's my understanding, I mean, the question was asked in committee, it's my understanding that the planning unit wasn't even asked whether they supported this or not in this fashion. And maybe they did do it, but that wasn't the answer to the question today. I just feel like we have, little by little, taken away more and more, if not authority, at least in influence of the planning unit, and given it to some water entities, but not all of them. The planning unit's the only one that has them all. And to me, this should have gone through the planning unit for their recommendation before anything came to us. So I'm not supporting this.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
That passes 5-1 with Ms. Brenner opposed and Mr. Bird out of the room. Next item up.
Okay. The next item is a request authorization for the flood control zone district to approve the North Cottonwood Stormwater Improvement Hazel Lane as 2018 capital improvement project and authorize the county executive to award the bid number 18-44 for North Cottonwood Stormwater Improvement Hazel Lane project to low bidder Strider Construction Company, Inc. in the amount of $279,435. Council acting as Whatcom County Flood Control Zone District Board of Supervisors, AB 2018-263. And this also received a vote of 3-0 in the committee, and I so move for approval.
So we move for approval. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0 with Mr. Bird out of the room.
Okay, the next item is request authorization for county executive to enter into a contract amendment between Whatcom County Flood Control Zone District and Tetra Tech, Inc. to provide supplemental engineering design services to accommodate a revised project area for the Birch Bay Drive Outfall Improvement Project in the amount of $18,468 for a total amended contract amount of $102,278. Council acting as Whatcom County Flood Control Zone District Board of Supervisors, AB 2018-264. This item also received a vote of 3-0 in the committee, and I so move for approval.
So it's been moved for approval. Any discussion? Ms. Brenner?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, for the record, that we don't discuss a lot of this stuff because we spent a lot of time discussing it in committee, for those of you who don't know that.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0 with Mr. Bird out of the room. Next item up is council appointments to boards, commissions and committees, and the first is an appointment to fill the vacancy in the Business and Commerce Advisory Committee, the for-profit entity for a for-profit entity in recreation representative, and the applicant is Clark Campbell. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move to appoint.
Mr. Donovan moves to
Second.
appoint. Ms. Brenner seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0 with Mr. Bird absent. Next is the confirmation of the county executive's appointment of Lynn Graham and Andrea Vance to the Whatcom County Veterans Advisory Board, AB 2018-267. Is there a motion to approve?
Move confirmation.
Second.
Mr. Buchanan moves to confirm. Mr. Donovan seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0 with Mr. Bird out of the room. Next item up is introduction items.
I move approval.
Ms. Brenner moves a second. Approval, was that?
I mean, for introduction.
And Mr. Buchanan seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0 with Mr. Bird out of the room. Next item up is reports, natural resources.
We had two items in natural resources. We had a further discussion on the purchase development rights program and potentially changing that to have some criteria to include forestry and habitat in the point scoring system, and that was held in committee, as you mentioned earlier. And we had a presentation from two members of the planning unit regarding recommendations to improve water resource management and funding. No decision was made, but it was a good conversation, and they're going to come back to us regarding how that might impact the budget.
Anything else from finance?
The Finance and Administrative Committee met at 11 a.m. today, and the first item was we had a county executive's report, and we learned that income is doing really well, and which is a good thing. But one of the things which always a measure in my head, how much of the budget we are spending on people and how much of the annual budget we spend on goods and services, things we actually do. So this shows that the people component was 60% in past years, and it is moved to 68%. Means that the increasing cost of benefits, medical, and whatever increase in the salaries, so that component is moving from 60 to 68%, so that leaves that much less money which we can use for actual goods and services or capital projects. And we are supposed to have all the ASR summary today sometime. Maybe it's already there. Haven't seen it. And the general fund balance will be kept around 15% at the end of this, that as per the budget at the end of this this biennium budget. So these were the major points Mr. Laus reported on in his report. And then we had a IT report, the second report from IT department, Perry Rice, and he did bring up all the projects completed, and he did bring up the major thing is cybersecurity, which is the biggest issue in every government, private organization, and everything. And he assured that work is being done, or we are protected, as well as they are getting help from the Homeland Security Department, which gives them all the hints as well as all the websites to block every week. So, and he's going to come back to us again towards the end of the year. So that's about it was in the Finance Committee today.
Thank you, Mr. Sidhu. Criminal Justice and Public Safety Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had 3 items on our agenda today. The first was a annual report from District Court. The second was the annual report from Superior Court. And the third item was Sheriff Elfo gave us an update regarding the jail population, not only during facility repairs, but also talked to us a little bit about booking restrictions. But we did have a motion that I want to present to the council. It was approved 3-0 by the committee, and the motion is to support engagement of professional services to study and recommend solutions for housing the jail population during repairs.
All right, thank you. And then the next item what we had was...
Motion.
Oh, sorry.
I second it.
Please restate your motion for me. I was focusing on the next item I had to do.
Okay. The motion is to move to support engagement of professional services to study and recommend solutions for housing the jail population during repairs.
So we have the motion. Was there a second?
Second.
Ms. Brenner was the second. Any discussion? Being none, all in favour say aye.
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 Opposed? That passes 6-0 with Mr. Bird absent out of the room. Okay, sorry, the next item up was discussion regarding the preliminary draft comprehensive plan and zoning amendments for Cherry Point, which we had in the Special Committee of the Whole. And Mr. Ahmet has returned to us a cleaned up version of the letter. The question.
The
okay.
question.
Well, there's a cover letter as well, so.
I did that.
Oh, you did that?
Very quick.
Okay, all right. Yep. Sure. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is County Executive Jack. We committed to you that we would get the additional service request list out to you today. Deputy Executive Schroeder sent it out at about 5:30 this evening. I opened it up at home and took a look at it, and Tyler looked at it also, and we're going to make a few comments related to it tomorrow before we send the final out, because the way it was formatted and some of the explanations on it is didn't give you a real clear picture of what was going on. We had some of them in there that were saying they weren't approved. let's say such as the needle exchange program, we approved it, we just moved it to a different fund. So we want to put some notations on it for you to make sure that it's right. It's part of trying to get things out on a fast track four-year review. Right, so I just wanted to let you know that tonight, and we're going to get it to you as soon as we can tomorrow.
Thank you. So, we have a copy of the letter from Mr. Ahmet, the list of questions. Do the council members want a couple of minutes just to read these and then make any comments or changes?
We didn't get that, did we?
Okay. Oh, I see. Okay. I'll have to read it into the record, so. And this is a draft for me to edit, is that right? Or it's a draft for myself and the council to edit in terms of the cover layout, right?
Like what we did?
Yep. Ms. Brenner?
This is what we did, but didn't we also decide that if people had more, to get them to Matt and copy the council on them, and they would come back, those ones would come back to us at a future date? I thought we did two things.
I think we tried to power through it and come up with something, because otherwise we're holding it up for another couple
Oh,
of
right,
months.
and this stuff should go, but I just thought we did some other stuff too.
That might,
Oh, you did it.
yeah, that might have
That
been
was you.
other stuff in the code that I'm going
Right.
to come back with.
Okay.
That was separate.
That's not part of this.
That's not this,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
All right, is there any questions on this? Is the council satisfied with the list of questions? Mr. Donovan?
I would propose deleting the last one.
Leading it?
Yeah, I think that's just overly broad, and there's part of the regular public comment process allows comments on that.
Todd, which one, is that
Number
under
7.
insurance or?
Number 7 under
Investment
storage
impacts.
and
Okay, thanks.
operations.
I
I'm sorry.
second, that's your motion, I second it.
That's so number 7 under storage and operations.
Well, you moved to withdraw that, so I'm seconding it.
So that's the number 7, addressing impacts.
Yeah, that's, oh, no, I'm sorry. I got my, did we already delete it? There was one, no, I'm sorry, the last thing on, are there any issues of which, Councilmember, that was not what I meant to propose.
Which one now?
On the storage and operations page.
What number?
There isn't a number, the very last.
The last question, it's unnumbered.
What about,
Are there any other issues of which you'd like to make council aware of related to insurance, product storage, or refining? I just think that's overly broad and that people
they
can
can-
make, so I moved to delete that.
well, I don't second that.
Okay.
And I'd like to comment on
So we have a motion, do we have a second for Mr. Donovan's motion? Saying none,
Second.
saying, okay, we have a second, so we have a motion and a second discussion on Mr. Donovan's motion. I think Ms. Brown was first, and then Mr. Sadoo.
Yeah, if it's too broad, they can say it's too broad, but if there's some answers they can give, why not?
Mr. Sadoo.
My thought is that we should actually take it out, because we have a time limit and all this. What happens is, most of the time when you make it an open-ended questions, there will be so many other topics will come in. It's not that we don't want to hear about them or address them, but this may not be the platform or occasion to address those. It really dilutes the discussion of the topic we have on hand. So my suggestion is that we should take it out.
Mr. Buchanan and Ms. Brenner.
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Sadoo. I think, that the whole purpose of coming up with questions was to have questions on specific issues. We do have public hearings, we've had public hearings, we have public open sessions where we get all kinds of comments on other aspects of the issue, so I think, I agree, we should delete this question.
Ms. Brenner.
Well, I'm kind of surprised that people don't want more information no matter what. I like more information, and if they don't, if it's too broad, they can just say so, but it doesn't hurt for us to ask. And to me, it shows that we would be, if we leave that in, that we really do want to hear about them on everything, even though, because, I don't know, I don't think we should remove that. It's just, it kind of covers all these things and a little more, and I don't see the problem.
Mr. Sadhu.
I think that we have never stopped anybody coming in here and talking about it. It's not that, oh, first time we are sending this letter and giving them the invitation to come and talk, and they're always welcome to come and discuss any other issues they have. I think we should stay on the topic and bring it to fruition what we are trying to do, rather than create this as another equation to broaden. Like when we have the public hearing, when we have a town hall, there will be all kinds of questions and things will come up, but that's not what our immediate task on hand is. We want to keep it in a way that we bring it to fruition and not to have to extend that moratorium, which is everybody comes and talks about it, and then we give another 6 months to do that. I think our intention should be by February, we should close this. And that's it.
Ms. Brenner.
Leaving that question in would give us plenty of time till February, and it most certainly is. It's a broader question about the same issues. It's just in case there's something related to this that we didn't, that we overlooked. To say this is like a whole different thing it's not correct. This is exact. Are there any other issues related to insurance, which this is about, product storage, which this is about, and/or refining, which this is about? So I don't see that it's another whole topic.
Are you sitting down, Ms. Brenner?
What?
Are you sitting down? I just want to let you know I'm going to agree with you in this situation.
Oh, my God. Good.
Mr. Bellew.
I was just going to say that I'm fine with this staying in. We're asking a rather long list of questions from the industry. This really started with a few questions that came out of the committee from the last meeting, and if I remember correctly, almost everybody in the committee agreed that this was a good exercise to do, to ask this few questions that turned into more than a few. And I think it's completely fine that if we extend the opportunity for them to comment any concerns or issues on this matter, I think it's fine.
And I would speak against the motion just on the basis that if I was to receive this document and was told that I can only answer the questions I'm asked and I can't add anything else I think is relevant, I'd be a bit upset about that. Mr. Donald.
I do not see anywhere in here where it says you cannot say that. Despite what was said in public comment about Councilmember Donovan somehow coming with all these questions for industry, I'm not comfortable with sending off this long list and then adding to that long list these sort of open-ended requests about stuff that we can get through email comments or public comments anyway. So I'm trying to figure out a way to kind of narrow this, especially if we're only giving folks, a month to do the response to this. It started out as a rather short list. I did add one thing, but I mean, I could go with doing none of this. But in terms of that comment about if you get a list of 7 + 8 questions, I don't imagine that the cover letter will say you can only answer these. I would hope the cover letter would say something like, we respectfully request you to answer the ones you want to. But I think it's a longer list than we had started for, and it's setting up then, in a month, give us an additional longer narrative in responding to all these things about everything else. They can do some of these things regardless of whether we have that in there or not. But my intent was not to limit what people can say. I mean, we can get that comment right now from people. It's not that I don't want to hear from them. I'm saying, if we're going to give them a list of stuff we want in a month, let's try to make it, you know, as succinct as possible. And so that was my intent. It was
How
not
about we
to-
vote on taking it out? I don't
Mrs.
think
Sadoo.
you have the votes.
I think that if you read this the way it is listed, are there any other issues of which you would like to make the council aware?
Regarding,
Yeah, but that's a qualifying thing regarding, right? I mean, we could write it that if you would like to expand on the above questions, you are welcome. Means, you know, right, rather than saying, oh, what are the other issues you would like to do that? I mean, there will be probably 100 other issues.
Mr. Donovan, then Ms.
Can I call my
Brenner.
own question, or was that what you're going to do? You said let's just vote on it. but-
well, yeah, but I was also going to say, I don't think the people this is going to are dumb. I think they can figure out what they want to answer, what they don't want to answer. And to just keep acting like, oh, we've got to be, let's just do it.
That's-
You
I
called
moved
for
to
the
call the
question.
question.
That's right, you did. And I kept talking.
I didn't mean it to take this long.
Well, okay, you've called the question. Is there a second to call the question? 'Cause
Second.
Second. Any discussion about calling the question? Oh, sorry, it's non.
You discussed that?
Non-debatable. All in favour, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
The question, no, we're calling the
The one that
question.
wanted to vote.
Oh, about calling for the question. Oh, okay, sure, yeah.
All in favour of calling the question, say aye.
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 Opposed? That passes 6-0 with Mr. Bird out of the room. Now we're at the question. So the question is, to strike the last sentence, are there any other issues for which you would like to make the council aware related to insurance product storage and/or refinery? All in favour of striking that paragraph, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
What were you?
Oh,
They only had
No.
2 or 3
I-
votes.
I want, my vote is to remove this.
Yeah, that's,
Okay, so then
there's,
you're a
Okay.
yes.
that's only 3.
Yeah, okay, I'm in the
So
yes.
it's 3 yeses, 3 noes, the motion fails.
I bet you I know how he would have voted if he was
That's what
here.
happened.
With Buchanan, Donovan
It didn't pass.
Donovan Sadoo
in favour, Baloo, Brown and Brenner opposed.
Opposed, which means it didn't,
Oh, I mean opposed.
so it didn't get removed.
I'm going to show up for this.
There was, so we had a letter here which was a draft, was a draft cover letter. Does the council wish me to read it and then comment on it, or
Well, why do,
has to go with the cover letter?
oh, that's the cover letter, well, okay,
Right.
gotcha.
So does the council wish me to read that and then comment on it? Yes?
Yes.
You don't care?
I
Oh,
trust-
if Dana
I tru-
wrote it, I'm
I
fine.
trust him.
I
Well,
trust.
this, okay, well, if
She
you'll
must have-
allow me,
'Cause then we'll
I'll
have to
read
vote
this
on
into the
something.
record, and
Yeah, read it.
it may have a little bit, if you'll allow me, it may have a little bit of wordsmithing afterwards. Is that all right?
I think it's whatever.
Okay, so this was the letter. Dear Cherry Point Industries, over the last few months, the Whatcom County Council has worked to draft the proposed comprehensive plan amendments and associated code and rule amendments that strengthen as discretionary authority of the county with respect to processing and approving major project permits, mitigating the impacts of proposed major projects and mitigating the changes in existing uses in the Cherry Point urban growth area. The council has questions for Cherry Point industry representatives it would like answered before finalising the proposed language to submit to the Whatcom County Planning Commission for further analysis, public comment and recommendations. Attached is a list of questions for your review and response. Please provide written answers to these questions by October 23rd, 2018. Written responses can be submitted by email to council@whatcomcounty.wire.us or delivered to the County Council Office, 311 Grand Avenue. Council also invites you to attend a special committee of the whole meeting on November 7th, 2018, time to be announced in the council chambers to provide additional information and explanation. Thank you for taking the time to answer these very important questions. Respectfully, Rudd Brown, Whatcom County Council Chair. Any comments on that letter? No?
I'm fine, it was very polite.
Okay. All right. So I think we've addressed that issue because we need I guess technically need a motion to approve sending this. So,
Move we send a letter just read into record.
okay, letter and the list of questions.
Yeah.
Yes. So there's been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Brenner seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0 with Mr. Byrd absent. Is there
I-
other items?
Who would you like this letter to go to?
Good question.
I would say all the businesses at Cherry Point.
Well, it's directed towards refining and gas operations. So I believe that's only BP, Phillips 66, and Petrogas. Is that correct?
But I'm not sure there's not a smaller one or something.
We had discussions about, does this expand to the railroads and the pipeline companies?
Yeah.
Okay, so then the railroad, and I think there are
Right.
2 pipeline companies.
Pipelines and railway, just business, I'd say businesses at Cherry Point, then that covers
Well, no, because there's a
everything.
lot of other businesses out there.
I'll put together a list and send it to you tomorrow, and then you guys can let me know if there's anybody else you want me to
Okay.
add to it.
All right. Okay, all right. Fine. Are there any other items? Council member updates. Mr. Buchanan.
I'm good, nothing.
Blue. Mr. Blue?
No, sir.
Mr. Donovan. Mr. Donovan.
There was that point I thought that was fair that somebody made about, there's a sign, I don't know if I'd noticed it until the other day, no drinks or food in the council chambers, and I have water, not coffee. But I would think maybe I can understand not having food in here, but if people can bring coffee in cups with
I would
lids.
think they could bring water in. Mine's got water in it.
Why not? But I think it's a fair point that if we're.
I thought it was
If we're gonna be
interesting.
sitting up here with coffee or water or whatever, that we shouldn't have a different rule. Even, I understand we're not on like fuzzy chairs that can be stained or whatever, so I don't know how we go about investigating or amending that policy, but I just.
How about
want-
water, at least allowing water?
I mean, I work at a university, we don't tell people they can't bring coffee into an auditorium, no one would be there. So.
Is there so,
Yeah, I don't know. That's a facilities thing, so I'm just throwing it out there. I would like to,
Yeah.
look. I want to look
we
into
got
that. 'Cause-
How about-
Tyler here, ask
how
Tyler to
about-
check.
How about
Check.
donuts?
He'll check.
No food. I'm not going, we never would sit up here eating food, but,
That was, you know, it was interesting,
but
actually.
I think coffee's a fair point, so, I don't know.
I would speak against your suggestion in part because we have somewhere to place the items, which they don't, and sometimes the auditorium gets very crowded.
Covered lids or something. I don't know. I will bring it up with facilities. I think
I
that's.
like you brought it up. I think it's good, and I think we should check it out.
But yeah, maybe there's some kind of meeting and we can get there.
Okay, well, I mean, you're of course certainly welcome to bring that up, so.
How about, don't bring in liquids that would stain the furniture?
Clear coffee.
How's that? Well, I'm not talking for you. I don't drink coffee, so I'm not talking for you guys.
Right, but I think I'll take that up with facilities. I assume
You
that's.
wouldn't want to see me caffeinated.
Chocolate does enough.
Oh, I don't have much of that.
Are there any other items? Actually, you made me think of one, so. Point of comment, I think the proper procedure for me earlier this evening would have been to seek council approval before making a suggestion. So my apologies to the rest of the council on that. But I would like to propose that we amend our open public comment instructions to ask a person to identify, say, the city or the county, the city or the county for which they are a resident or work, along with their name, and make that part of the procedure. So I'd throw that out as an idea. Is there anyone who wishes to support that?
I want to comment on it.
So I'll make that as a motion. Mr. Donovan, are you seconding the motion?
I'll second it but I would hope that people are encouraged or recommended, or we'd appreciate it, I don't know how you'd phrase it, but I don't want to tell someone that they can't speak if they don't. I like the idea of putting the request out there and then seeing if people decide they want to say where they're from, but I wouldn't want to make it an absolute, I think it worked fairly well tonight. So that,
Ms. Brennan and Mr. DeSitter.
Yeah, I just want to say that there are so many exceptions to what that person was worried about and what you seem to be concerned about. You could have somebody who owns a house but doesn't live there. His son lives there, but his son's not able to attend because he's working long hours, and the dad comes and he's living in Skagit, but his property's here. You know, I just think there are so many exceptions, especially when it comes to do with work. when people work here. That's a big one. So I'm not comfortable making, I'm definitely wouldn't support making it a requirement. But I think we used to have a thing where you would give your name and your something.
Name and address.
Name and
That
address.
kind of went away.
But you didn't, no, some people did and some people didn't. And a lot, go ahead.
I'm going to look at the Open Public Meetings Act, but I believe there might be something in there that says you can't require people to give their address.
Can or
That
can't?
doesn't, you cannot.
I didn't think so
That
either.
doesn't mean you couldn't ask them to give their county, but I'll have to look into it.
Yeah,
As far as like giving their full address. I just can't remember.
because I think that some people would be there might be a lot of people, not a lot, but some people afraid to leave, put their address.
Yeah.
I could understand that.
Mr. Donovan. Oh, sorry,
Mr.
sorry,
Sudhir.
I think Mrs.
Okay, and I mean, I agree with Mr. Donovan that we should give it a suggestion to people rather than making a requirement. But like name and city of residence are the two things which, if it is in the Public Meetings Act, and those two things we should require people. And where they work or why, that's up to them. We can make a suggestion in our instructions that you can state that, but I think two things, name and city of residence or county.
City or county of work or residence.
Yeah.
Mr. Donovan.
Yeah, I support Mr. Brown's idea, but I guess it's how we would wordsmith it in terms of what the public records requirements are, but something just, and maybe some of the chair's prerogative, but, you please state your name for the record, and we encourage you to state your county of residence or city of residence.
It's getting so complicated.
Or whatever within the bounds of what the law would require. But I think it's kind of a norm that has gone away. I don't want to know what somebody's street address is, but that used to be, people get it and they say, but I do kind of want to know where they live, at least.
You do, see? They should be
in
quite
terms
afraid.
of the county, I'm not. But no one should be denied the ability to speak, but I think it's fair to encourage them to say where they live.
So I would, again, obviously speak in favour of my motion. All I really want to know is what city do they reside in. I don't need to know their name, address. Sorry, I don't need to know their address or other personal details. I think it's helpful because, as we certainly, from an email perspective, we all get inundated with emails. When you read the emails closely, a large percentage of those emails are from people who don't even, some of them don't even live in the country. So,
I remember that.
which gets a little frustrating to spend the time reading those emails and deciding whether you need to respond to them to realise the person lives in South Africa.
The dog meat ones.
Yeah.
Can't do anything about them, so what's the difference? Whether it's an email or somebody who took the time to actually show up.
Well, if someone, for example, was to come up here, I was at a meeting, it wasn't a council meeting, but I was at a meeting a while ago where a young woman gets up and she's talking very passionately about an issue, and when it gets down to it, the issue is about her educational institution in Seattle. And we can't do anything about that.
Well, things happen. I'm just saying that if we're doing it with emails and we can't stop that, I don't see the difference. And it takes it's a lot more effort for someone to take the time to come to a meeting. So, I hear what that person said about, I only want people who get to vote or not everybody who lives here gets to vote here anyway. They may be a foreign national who lives and works here. So this whole thing has just kind of gotten weird.
Well, again, it's only their name and city of residence. Anyway, that's my motion. Mr. Donovan, I believe you're seconding that, is that?
I seconded it, but I would like to have the request phrased as, please state your name for the record, and we encourage you to say your city of residence. If somebody decides to stay silent about where they live, I don't want to see us cutting them off.
So I would accept that as a friendly amendment.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Sudhir.
my suggestion is that if you can take back your resolution, because let the county council clerk find out what the rules are and everything, and then we can restate it rather than
Yeah,
trying to do
let's wait and
something.
start from there.
And she's going to do research into that anyways, and she got the idea what we are talking about and what is proper, rather than passing a resolution. We should wait till next meeting, and then we can institute a proper procedure.
And I'm fine with that, and I'm happy to
Table it.
Table
Don't
it.
withdraw it, but table
Yep.
it.
Yep.
Table it.
Yep, okay.
Do we need a motion to table?
Table. I say aye.
Or you can just withdraw.
I'll just
Yeah.
withdraw it,
That's
so
easier.
for the sake. All right, other items.
Well, I have one item. I attended the Business and Commerce Advisory Committee's first meeting at the Port of Bellingham, and it was really heartening to know that almost everybody attended. And these people are very excited, and they see that this is a good opportunity to think about economic development in our county. And of course, I was late for the meeting myself. I had another thing going. And so they are very positive, and they are going to elect a chair or vice chair next time. And they were informed about Open Public Meetings Act, and they are going to take that training online and fill it out. But I saw that they were very pleased that county council is taking this initiative, and they want to participate. So we'll see what happens in future.
Any other updates? Mr. Sadhu, any other updates?
No,
Ms.
that's it.
Brenner? Mr. Donovan? Mr. Blue? Mr. Buchanan? And I have none. If there's nothing else, we are adjourned. Thank you.
All right.